Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I am Tia Latrice and as always I am so happy to have you here today. If you haven't already, please go ahead and click that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified each and every time I upload new content. Okay guys, so today I have for you this Wayfair Inspired Wall Decor and I'm going to show you how to get this look for less. Okay, so on the Wayfair site, you'll see this piece for $125. I'm going to show you how I made a comparable piece for about $5. So first you're going to need some of these wooden dowels. You can find these at the Dollar Tree. I got this particular pack from Walmart. They do come with more in a pack and it costs about $1. I think I used about 2.5 packs. Also, I used this chipboard, and if you're not sure what chipboard is, it's kind of like a combination between paper and cardboard. It's about the same texture and consistency as like a cereal box. So if you don't have chipboard, you can use a cereal box for this. And you're going to want to use a couple different adhesives. I used this Gorilla Wood Glue. You could have possibly used like a Crazy Glue or a quick hold glue, but then also I used a hot glue gun for certain parts of this piece. I also used a yardstick, a ruler, and scissors, as well as some metallic spray paint. So first I started out by putting out my yardstick and I placed down the two dowels that I intended to have on the ends of this piece, so the far right and the far left ends of this piece. From there I am going to space the dowels somewhat evenly apart. As you can see, because these are 12-inch dowels and I need them to be a little longer, I am gluing the dowels together. I did use wood glue for this portion. Again, as I mentioned before, you could use super glue or crazy glue and it may stick a lot faster, but I wanted this to be a really strong hold that wasn't going to come off, but you're welcome to use whatever adhesive works best for you. And as you can see, I'm trying to space them somewhat evenly apart just so I have an idea of what my total width is going to look like. So that's what you'll see me doing here. So here is the arrangement of my vertical dowels, and this is kind of what I'm going to try to keep as I lay out the horizontal dowels going across. So just like before, what I'm doing now with these dowels is trying to get an idea of how I want the horizontal dowels to lay. So before I glue anything in place, I'm just going to lay them out and make sure that I have an idea of what the final positioning is going to be. And I'm not going to glue anything until I am pretty sure of how I want all of these to lay. Okay, so here is the final layout that I think I'm going to go with. And you can see the horizontal and the vertical dowels are kind of all just placed kind of evenly across. I did go back in and do a little bit of additional spacing in between before I glued these down, just to give them a little bit more consistency between the sizes of the squares. And you'll see as I lay them out, I just take away the ones that I feel aren't needed. I space them out just so that they are, I believe they were about 3 inches apart, and then about 4 inches apart going vertically, if that makes sense. But either way, it doesn't have to be to a specific science if you're trying to do this. Just kind of eye it to what you would like and make sure that your spaces are going to be somewhat congruent. They don't have to be exactly symmetrical, but you want to have a little bit of consistency in this pattern. So as you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing that I did with the vertical dowels. With these horizontal dowels, I am just gluing them together with that Gorilla wood glue. I of course make sure that those are completely dry before adding them or gluing them onto the final piece. So while my dowels were drying, I went ahead and took the chipboard and measured out 3 by 4 inch pieces, which was approximately the sizes of the squares on my piece. And again, these don't have to be specifically even. My paper just happened to be 12 by 12 inches. I thought 3 by 4 would actually make a lot of sense so that I could save some chipboard instead of being wasteful with that. But again, make this to your preference. It doesn't have to be specifically these same dimensions. So I'm just making those lines vertically and horizontally, and then I just cut those out. So I wasn't sure how many of these little squares I was going to use. I ended up cutting out way more than I needed just because I wanted to have more than enough than not enough. So I cut out quite a few of these, and you'll see at the end, I ended up not using all of them. I actually used a lot fewer than I had originally planned. But when you're doing this, you can add as few or as little, as few or as many as you would like. It doesn't have to be exactly like the Wayfair piece. It doesn't have to be exactly like my piece. You're ultimately just going to want to do it in a way that's going to be appealing to you. Once I was done cutting those out, I proceeded to folding them. On the original Wayfair piece, it looks like some of those are vertical, some of them are horizontal. I wasn't really sure if it would make a difference because my dimensions are different. They're not perfect squares. I folded some of them going lengthwise, and then I also folded some of them going along the width of those pieces. Alright, so I let my dowels dry overnight, and then I came back and went ahead and began to glue them in place. Now for this part of it, I'm not using the wood glue, I am using the hot glue. So of course you can use hot glue or E6000 or whatever glue you prefer. I wanted something that was going to dry pretty quickly, which is the reason why I went with the hot glue for this portion. One quick pointer: when you are gluing down your dowels with your hot glue, you're gonna want to make sure that you are not gluing your dowels to the surface that you're on. So just use a small amount. Allow those that setting. Shoot. So once you are finally done gluing down all of your dowels, you are ready to add on your chipboard. So again, you're going to try to get these in positions where they fit well. They don't have to fill the entire square. If you look back at the original piece from Wayfair, there are some that have some spaces between the grid, so to speak, and the little pieces that are in between. So I'm just finding places on my grid that look well or look good with these little cardboard cutouts. So some of them are vertical, some of them are horizontal, just like in the original. And I did end up going back. You'll only see me adding a few here, but after I put it up, I wasn't really loving how sparse it was, so I did go back and add a few later, so you'll see that in the finished product. Okay, so once you've placed all of your cardboard cutouts or your chipboard cutouts, you're gonna go ahead and hot glue those in place. So I did a couple of these before I really got a good system in place for how to do this. I'll tell you now, this project was quite a bit of trial and error. But I think in retrospect, the best way that I found to attach these was to put a little line of hot glue on the edge of the cardboard and then touch it to the grid rather than trying to just glue them at the same time. I found that that made it a little bit neater, and it also gave me the ability to kind of press it more firmly if I just put it right there on the edge where I needed it, just like this one right here that I just did. And then that way it adheres a little bit better, in my opinion, just based on the few that I did before that. Those did not look quite as neat as these few that I did at the end. Alright guys, so if you have reached this point, we are just about ready for the spray paint. So I decided to go with, instead of that gold that I showed you in the beginning, I went with this silver metallic finish. It just matches well with my decor in comparison to the gold. So I did elevate this piece on just a couple of citronella candles, but you can elevate it on whatever. I just didn't want it to be laying on a flat surface because I was scared that it would stick to that surface, and then it would be very difficult for me to peel it away without it breaking, because it is so fragile. So I just elevated this on something that I was going to be able to easily remove it from or flip it over. I did spray the front as well as the back of this piece. And I did go in with a couple of different coats. And like I mentioned earlier, before I was satisfied with the finished product, I went ahead and added a few more of those little cardboard cutouts, or those chipboard cutouts, just to fill up the piece a little bit more. I spray painted those individually, well, not individually, but I spray painted those separately, and then just adhered those with some hot glue once they were dry. So if you find yourself in the same situation and just wanted to know how I was able to do that after this was already spray painted, that's the way I did it. Okay, so here we are with the almost finished product. This was it before I added those additional pieces I was telling you about. It just looked really empty to me. I didn't want it to be super busy, but this is just a little bit too sparse. So I added a few more, and this is kind of how I left it. So let me know what your thoughts are in comparison to the original piece. Do you think it was a good duplicate? Or are you thinking that maybe, you know, we should leave this one to the professionals? I don't know yet how I feel about it. But I did hang it here on my wall. I just adhered it with some clear thumbtacks just because I'm not super sure if I'm going to keep it here or not. I don't know. We'll see. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you kind of undecided like me? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, and I'll check you guys out next time. Bye.